Hey friends, what's up? I'm going to try to make this video and put it out there that I've wanted to make for months now, and I've tried hundreds of times and I just have been afraid to post it or didn't like how it turned out. And I still don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go for it because I'm going to be really mad at myself if I don't. I'm going to be really raw and forward on here, so if that's too much for you, I totally get that. But if not, welcome, and here's my little story from the past year and my experience with everything I went through. Okay, well, to start off, I think most people know that I have OCD, and I had it pretty bad when I was younger, and I started treatment for it when I was 5. I had really early OCD, and it was pretty bad, but I went to intense therapy, and I really worked through it, and I did that like twice a week. And I was put on Zoloft just to help with my OCD a little bit, and I had been on it since I was like 7 and was still on it at this point last year. And it wasn't working as well, I felt, so I talked to my psychiatrist and I was like, I've never been on any other medications. I'm just wondering, should I stay on this or should I switch? And we decided that I should try going up on it. I went up on it, my body did not react well, and I ended up getting Serotonin Syndrome. And I thought Serotonin Syndrome was really bad, but I was very wrong. That it was literally nothing compared to what else I was about to endure. Basically for Serotonin Syndrome, I felt super lightheaded, dizzy, sick, had a high heart rate, and was sweaty. So I went into the hospital, I was admitted into the ER, and I got out, and they were like, okay, maybe you should switch off of Zoloft and try something else. So my doctor suggested I go on klonopin. It's a medicine for OCD, just like a little low dose because I didn't need much, but to kind of help just with the anxiety. And then I wasn't sleeping super well, so they suggested klonopin, 1 milligram a day, and I really didn't know what that was at this point. But, I was just like, I'm going to do what my doctor says. So I did that. And initially I felt pretty good for the first 2 weeks. I was like, wow, I'm sleeping and I'm just not really anxious. This is awesome. But then I started to feel pretty lightheaded when I stood up and getting really intense stomach aches and just feeling kind of anxious. And I at one point stood up, fell over, and cracked the back of my head open. And my doctor was like, okay, I think we should take you off klonopin and we'll keep you on the klonopin, but we'll try a different medication. So we switched to Pristiq. And I felt kind of okay in the beginning, but I had just had a super bad stomach ache. I was just feeling really uncomfortable. I was starting to get really anxious in the morning, super anxious, and nothing I'd ever experienced before, and just feeling pretty nauseated. And I, at this point, was starting to drop a lot of weight. And I was already really small to begin with, so it was hard, and I was just super anxious. So my doctor was like, okay, I don't think you should be on the Pristiq, but we're going to keep the klonopin. I was like, okay. So they had me switch to propranolol and gabapentin and Luvox. I've never been on any medication, literally, besides that Zoloft. And this was so many med changes in 3 months. It's a lot. And my body is sensitive, and I start feeling absolutely horrendous at 9 a.m. every single day, and then I would be sick, crying, throwing up, and basically unable to walk until 6 that night. So every single morning it'd be clockwork. I'd wake up, start sobbing, start throwing up, have that all the way till nighttime, and then I would get a break. And I was like, this makes no sense. I don't know what's going on. The only thing that has been consistent throughout this was klonopin. And I was like, maybe that's what it is. And at this point, I was deteriorating super quickly, and my parents decided that we needed a team of medical people, and I needed that too. And I was pretty much unable to live on my own at this point, and I had an apartment in LA, but I decided to keep that apartment here and have to go back to Minnesota and be with my parents to be taken care of, because I just felt so sick at this point, unbelievably sick and in pain, and my anxiety was absolutely off the charts. Never have I experienced anything like that. So I'm back in Minnesota. Things are not getting better. They're just getting so much worse. I'm starting to get tons of blood tests. People are like, maybe you have a tumor, maybe you have cancer. I'm getting infusions every week. They're like, you're deficient in all these vitamins. Maybe you have inflammation in your head. Maybe you have like all these terrible things, all these diseases. I got tested hundreds of times. My arms were just like bruised from all of the lab tests, and I got like brain scans, and I just got so many scans and blood draws, and all my tests kept coming back overall that I was malnourished, kind of, because I had literally completely lost my appetite and was throwing up nonstop, and the rest of it was like inconclusive. Nothing was out of the normal, but I was clearly sick, but I didn't have any of these terrible things, which no one could really figure out why. Eventually this kept going on. It's like August at this point. It had been a really long time. I wasn't able to hold a job. I wasn't really able to do anything. I couldn't remember lots of chunks of time. I just was throwing up non-stop. My stomach hurt so bad. I'm like 90 pounds at this point. And I remember it hitting like 6 o'clock, and I had gone on a walk with my dad, and I was like, Dad, I just think this is the klonopin. I just really think it is. I've been researching it. There's this thing that is just not researched very much. Just to be on it for a total of like 4 weeks max, or you literally become dependent on it. And I was like, this just makes no sense. My tolerance or something is weird. It's super weird. I just feel super off. And we come to the conclusion that we think it's my klonopin. And we tell the doctors, and like, okay, I think we gotta get you off this. And I was like, yeah, I've been saying that. I agree. And I do this with a pairing also of vitamins, because they realized I was super deficient in B12, which was making my anxiety worse. And so I started getting shots with that, and that helped. But then I was getting off the klonopin, and the doctor was like, I think you should switch from klonopin to Valium, because it's an easier medication to get off of. And when you get off of a benzodiazepine, you can't just get off of it in a day or anything. It takes like months if you're on it for a prolonged period of time, which is more than like 4 weeks. So at this point, I've been on it for like 11 months. And instead of my doctor telling me to get off the klonopin in like months, they told me I could switch from klonopin to Valium. Keep in mind, 1 milligram of klonopin is equal to 20 Valiums. That's like the conversion. So klonopin's really potent. I also did not know this at all. I just did not know this. And I was told that that's the conversion, and to just try going to 5 milligrams of Valium in a day from the 1 milligram of klonopin. That's like a 90% drop. That is so much. Needless to say, my body did not handle it well at all. I was doing everything completely as prescribed, was following everyone's directions completely, and I went into acute withdrawal. I woke up and I felt horrible. Like, I thought I had felt horrible before, but this was nothing compared to how I felt. At this time, I was literally unable to walk. My vision was in and out. I was dripping in sweat. I was puking. I was shaking so much. I was so incredibly confused, sobbing, like absolutely just non-stop sobbing, curled up in a ball, shaking. It was terrible. My mom showed me some videos of me that she had taken, because she just wanted to send it to the doctors and be like, look at what's happening, like, this is not right. And my friends were like, you weren't there, really. Like, I barely remember any of that. I just remember the pain I was in and how hard it was. And honestly, I think it was worse than death could ever be, because that, I don't know what that was, but that was beyond hell. Like, that was, oh my god, I don't even know how to describe that. I have no words that I will ever be able to use to describe that. But anyways, at this point, my dad didn't feel comfortable having me at home because I was just getting so sick. So he took me to the ER, and they ended up admitting me into the ICU because I was just getting so sick. And they were watching me, and they're like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And then they realized I was on the 5 milligrams only, and they're like, that is way too fast of a drop. This needs to be like a long taper, like 6-7 months instead of like a day. So I get put slowly on these other medications. My body's still rejecting them, and my heart rate goes to 200 while I'm laying down. I'm convulsing nonstop. I have a fever. I'm puking. I really felt like at this point I had the choice to either push on or to give up. And I'm glad that I chose to push on. It was really hard though, and I was in so much pain, and I just cannot even explain that feeling. And it's something I don't think anyone should ever experience, no matter who they are. It is like, ugh, makes me sick to even think about it. Anyways, I'm in the ICU for about a week, and I get discharged. I'm told, okay, we're gonna do a long taper plan now to get off this Valium and get you off these medications that are clearly so bad for you. I'm like, okay. And I start doing this Valium taper, and I'm equivalent to starting off to like 20 milligrams of Valium, which was so weird because they had started me on the 5 originally, and that was wrong, so I had to go back up. And I'm now at the end of my taper, and I'm at like 0.07. So from 20 all the way to 0.07. So I'm barely on anything. I'm going to be off in a couple weeks, and it's been super slow and steady. So overall, I've had really good experiences with my drop overall. But there's a couple times I switched to a liquid because I was getting low, and they don't have pills or anything that low. So it's like a compounded liquid, and I forgot to shake it, and so the medicine was at the bottom and like the mixing stuff was at the top, so I only was getting the top. So I went into acute withdrawal. That was horrible. I was back in California, and I was experiencing it alone. That was scary. I had my roommates and stuff, which was amazing because I don't even know how I would have gotten to the phone to like anything. I don't know, I just get sucked in thinking about that sometimes. But yesterday I did have a drop a couple days ago, and yesterday I guess I might have shaken it enough or something, and I went into another withdrawal, and it's just as scary as every other time. I like forget it. It's because I feel like it's a trauma, and I just automatically make myself forget it because it's so incredibly painful and scary and horrible. And then I get it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's what it was. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I did that every single day for like 9 months. And I talked to my doctor and got my medicine stabilized. I'm still on this really low dose, and I'm on track to getting off soon. But that's been my experience so far, and it has been a life-changing time for sure. I have changed. I've learned a lot, but I would not wish this upon anyone ever. I am doing this though, and I'm really proud of myself, and I'm back in LA, and I've been working and independent and working on music and doing the things I like again, which I never thought I was going to be able to do. And that's my update right now. Yeah, I know I just kind of rambled on for a really long time, and I don't know if I'll ever post this, but at least I have this documented. Ugh. Okay.